It is said that out of every 10 Foundation establishment cultivators, only 2 or 3 successfully break through. It's not because the heavenly tribulation is so terrifying, but because the heart demon is terrifying. Even celestial beings are filled with dread at the mere mention of it. But when the heart demon encounters Han Jue, this 6th senior brother, it realizes that it has backed the wrong horse. Only the heart demon keeps tempting Han Jue. You are already strong enough. Stop hiding your strength and show the world how powerful you are. Whether you choose, with a heart devoted to benevolence, and seek the path of the sage, or to overturn all life and decree the eternal destiny of the world depends on a single thought of yours. Upon hearing this, Han Jue unexpectedly asked, Is there more? He immediately waved his hand and extinguished the heart demon. Next, he can focus on facing the heavenly tribulation. Han Jue successfully entered the Golden Core stage, and the system rewarded him with a top-grade celestial sword and the Divine Technique 6-Path Soul Absorption. However, what made Han Jue the happiest was that his lifespan had increased again. He immediately set himself a small goal, to break through the nascent soul stage within 100 years. He immediately prepared to relax and check his friend's circle. At this look, he was suddenly shocked. He actually discovered that sect leader Li Qingzi had been repeatedly attacked by demon cultivators. He immediately set off and flew towards the main hall of Jade Serenity Peak. However, along the way, incidents were happening continuously within Jade Pure Sect. There are countless injured people here. Han Jue hurriedly arrived at the palace to pay respects to Dawnstar Fairy. Dawnstar Fairy narrowed her eyes. Do you still have the audacity to come back? I thought you had already betrayed the sect. He was about to explain. Dawnstar Fairy continued. The Jade Pure Sect is about to face an unprecedented disaster. I will give you a choice. You can choose to leave the Jade Pure Sect directly. Han Jue was shaken when he heard this. At the same time, he also received the system's choices for himself. He subconsciously wanted to choose the first option to leave the Jade Pure Sect, but then he remembered he had the Golden Cicada Mystic Divine Robe. What about you, Master? Dawnstar Fairy remained calm. Master shares life and death with Jade Pure Sect. In that case, Disciple will also share life and death with Master. At this moment, Dawnstar Fairy's favorability towards Han Jue has increased to 3 stars. Han Jue suddenly had a thought. If her favorability increases by 1 more star, wouldn't he and Shifu be able to develop into Taoist partners? Dawnstar Fairy couldn't help but be shocked. Aren't you afraid of death? It may be lighter than a feather or heavier than Mount Tai, but he doesn't want to abandon Shifu and leave. However, your master hasn't taught you anything. But you have shown me great kindness, Shifu. You have fought for opportunities for me many times and helped me resolve some potential troubles. I hold all these in my heart. These words are sincere from the bottom of Han Jue's heart. In this life, Dawnstar Fairy is probably the best person to myself. Upon hearing Han Jue's sincere words, Dawnstar Fairy couldn't help but smile, feeling content in her heart. After Han Jue left, Dawnstar Fairy took out a storage bag and handed it to Chan Lunar, saying, Help yourself, junior brother, as I instructed. When Han Jue returned to his own cultivation dwelling, he found that Chan Lunar was actually at his cultivation dwelling. Originally, Dawnstar Fairy had asked her to help set up a formation at the entrance of Han Jue's cultivation dwelling that could conceal the entrance. If someone forcibly intruded, they would be trapped in the environment and unable to extricate themselves. At the same time, spiritual herbs were planted inside the cultivation dwelling to enhance the surrounding spiritual chi. Han Jue was excited and quickly thanked Senior Sister and Master without expressing his gratitude. After a while, Senior Sister moved in to accompany you. Han Jue suddenly became nervous and swallowed hard. He cautiously said, Are you trying to absorb my cultivation dwelling spiritual chi? Chan Lunar was suddenly so angry that her whole body began to tremble. You just know how to cultivate. In this way, Han Jue has nested in the cultivation dwelling for 5 years, and is now at the Golden Core Stage 3 layer stage. He found that Imo No Revenge and Zhou Fan also made the list. He once again felt fortunate that he hadn't gone with them back then. Just then, the system suddenly prompted that an innate Chi Fortuner was detected. Han Jue immediately began to investigate the background of this person. The individual's name is Chen 3 Days, born a demon embryo, and is now the core senior disciple of the Azure Abyss demon cult. At this moment, Han Jue is cultivating outside the dwelling. A person in black is looking at Han Jue's calligraphy. He was puzzled how such a big character could be found in the wilderness. Could it be cultivation dwelling? But he didn't see a door. At this moment, Han Jue was at the entrance of the cultivation dwelling, when he heard Chen 3 Days say that he was a shrinking bird turtle, which made him furious, veins bulging all over his body. When he confirmed that he was the only one there, he harshly said, "Very well, you're done for." He is a core disciple of the demon cult. He is fierce and brutal, causing fear wherever he goes. However, at this time, he is cowering at Han Jue's feet like a defeated dog. Chen 3 Days suddenly sensed a murderous intent before he could react. The three-sword chi directly pierced through Chen 3 Days' body like lightning. He was sent flying dozens of meters away like a sandbag. At the same time, three-sword shadows were floating above his head. Chen 3 Days was so scared that he almost lost his soul. "Senior, what are you here for a Jade Pure sect?" "It's all a misunderstanding, Senior. I just happened to pass by here." Chen 3 Days felt quite anxious at this moment. He had indeed investigated Jade Pure sect, and found no sword cultivator elder as powerful as this one. Could it be that this person is the Grand Elder of Jade Pure sect? Han Jue appeared behind Chen 3 Days, the innate demon embryo of the Azure Abyss demon cult's top disciple. "If you were handed over to the Jade Pure sect, what do you think your fate would be?" Chen 3 Days was immediately shocked. How could the other party know his secrets? Chen 3 Days quickly turned around to beg for mercy from Han Jue, but he was surprised to find that Han Jue was unexpectedly so young. And he's only at the Foundation Establishment 9th layer stage. Could he be a disciple of the senior? At this moment, Han Jue was hesitating whether to kill him or capture him. What if one day the sect leader is captured, and he could be used as a hostage for exchange? Unexpectedly, Chen 3 Days suddenly appeared behind Han Jue and held a blade to his neck. He turned around and shouted towards the cultivation dwelling, "Senior, let me go!" Han Jue was speechless. "I don't have a disciple." Chen 3 Days immediately threw away the sword in his hand, knelt down on the ground, with cold sweats drenching his body. "I was just joking." At the same time, he cursed in his heart. This is only the Foundation Establishment 9-layer stage. Han Jue was also speechless. Is that it? Is he too weak, or is the 3 pure phantom sword too strong? Later, Han Jue walked towards the cave and said, "Follow me." Han Jue intended to hand him over to Shifu. If he said that, he would definitely fight to escape. But Han Jue could only kill him, and did not have the power to suppress him. Han Jue suddenly asked Chen 3 Days to stab him with all his strength. Chen 3 Days started trembling and wailed, admitting his mistake. Chen 3 Days cried in fear, thinking that he will always try to attack him. He was convinced in his heart that Han Jue was definitely setting him up to kill himself. Do I really seem that scary? This demon cult's top disciple is truly too cowardly. He then ordered him to stay in the cave to grow spiritual herbs and keep it clean for him. A year passed, and Chen 3 Days saw Han Jue had been cultivating all this time without leaving the door. He thought he was exceptionally good at cultivation, thinking about himself being the core top disciple. He will delay the intelligence information if he continues like this. He saw Han Jue so confident cultivating, so he simply made a move to sabotage him. Immediately, the spiritual chi gathered in his hand. He launched a surprise attack towards Han Jue. Han Jue sensed something was amiss, and just glanced back. The art style suddenly changed. He explained that he was swatting mosquitoes. He immediately said that he would go clean up. Looking at the system prompt that Shin 3-day's hatred towards him had increased to 4 stars, Han Jue was speechless. He hadn't tormented him at all this year, yet the hatred had still escalated to an endless extent. It was really frustrating. At this moment, Shin 3-days was thinking that once he escaped, he would definitely find a way to settle the score for this year. He suddenly widened his eyes, only to see a hole the size of a human head appeared on Shin 3-days' chest. It was Han Jue who took the shot and killed him. I have given you a chance, but you are still useless. Behave yourself, at least you have some value to exchange for hostages. Now it's not necessary anymore. Han Jue also felt a headache at this moment. According to the routine in the novel, if he kills the old one, an even older one will come. Sure enough, a black mist slowly drifted out of Shin 3-days' body. A figure emerged from the black mist. Do you have the courage to identify yourself after killing my disciple? Azure Abyss Demon Cult Zhang Kunmo. Are you Cao Cao? I remember you. He vanished after speaking. At this moment, the system displayed a message. Zhang Kunmo holds a grudge against you with a current 5-star hatred level. Han Jue felt extremely nervous. How could he handle a 5-star grudge? However, when he checked his connections list, he realized that the other party's cultivation level was only at the nascent Soul 8 layer, far from the divine transformation. How cool would it be to have such a thoughtful cultivation system? As long as you stick to your path and continue to cultivate, your strength will constantly grow. The system might even occasionally give out world-class cultivation techniques, top-notch artifacts, and other small gifts. Even on his 100th birthday, the system specially presented a big gift. It is said that 8 years after Han Jue killed Shin 3-days. On this day, Xing Red Vortex came to Han Jue's cultivation dwelling. When Han Jue saw Xing Red Vortex, he was so scared that his entire body twisted. Very soon, Xing Red Vortex made her intentions clear by pulling out dozens of bottles of Jade Pure Dan, generously stating that these were accumulated over many years for Han Jue to enjoy to his heart's content. Han Jue's expression softened, and he told Xing Red Vortex to take them back and use them herself as he no longer needed them. Xing Red Vortex's smile froze. Immediately her expression changed dramatically. Have you already? Han Jue said seriously. Don't spread the news about my breakthrough. If you want to be my Taoist partner, you must cultivate diligently. Otherwise, hundreds of years will pass. I will become an immortal, while you will turn into bones. Your deep feelings for me will be a punishment. Upon hearing the name Red Vortex, Xing couldn't help but calm down. I can't hold you back. Husband, don't worry. I'll go help you get the Golden Core Stage Cultivation Dan pill. Han Jue was confused as soon as he heard this. That's not what I meant at all. At this moment, the headquarters of the Azure Abyss Demon Cult. Inside a dark and dim hall, Master of Demon Cult Duan Skyreaching is discussing with 7 elders about attacking Jade Pure Sect. They have been fighting with Li Qingzi for decades. Li Qingzi deliberately did not return to Jade Pure Sect. At this point, someone proposed to directly attack Jade Pure Sect, and suddenly everyone agreed. After a while, Skyreaching waited for everyone to quiet down. He slowly said, I am about to launch a divine transformation attack on the Jade Pure Sect. It's almost certain to succeed. When these words were spoken, all the elders looked at him in shock. I have prepared for this for decades. I have confidence. Please wait for another 30 years. Everyone cheered excitedly upon hearing this. 10 years have passed, and Han Jue has cultivated his Thunder Wind spiritual root to the Golden Core 9th layer. He seems to have already seen the nascent soul beckoning to him. He is completely immersed in this joyous time and unable to extricate himself. Suddenly, Chan Lunar appeared beside Han Jue without anyone noticing. Han Jue was quite startled by the sudden appearance of her senior sister, Chan Lunar. It took a long time for Chan Lunar to explain that she came to deliver the heavenly materials and earthly treasures, which, when planted by the poolside, could enhance the spiritual chi of the cultivation dwelling, possibly making it the best cultivation dwelling for the spiritual chi of the Jade Pure sect. Han Jue immediately expressed gratitude to senior sister. Chong Lunar smiled and said that it was all a reward from master, and that he was just running errands. Han Jue couldn't help but sigh that his master was really good to him. Chong Lunar then chatted with Han Jue about the events that had happened at Jade Serenity Peak in recent years. When he learned that Old Iron had passed away peacefully 2 years ago, Han Jue was stunned to hear this. Before he passed away, he wanted to see you one last time. As for the reason, we didn't find out. Upon hearing this news, Han Jue's expression suddenly became complex. He used to really dislike Old Iron. But looking back now, Old Iron never harmed him. He could even say that Old Iron raised him. But now this aversion has long since disappeared. He even feels a little nostalgic. Senior sister, you have to take control of the present. If you are no longer around one day, junior brother might really not know how to carry on. Chong Lunar smiled upon hearing this and said, I thought you didn't even have me in your heart. After chatting for a while, Chong Lunar said it was time to go back to cultivation, aiming to accompany junior brother on the path of cultivation for a little longer. Although Chong Lunar was joking, these words fell into Han Jue's ears as a bitter truth. He remained silent for a long time. Soon after, he was seen writing Old Iron's name on the cave wall as his tombstone. I hope you will be born into a good family in your next life. More than a decade has passed, and besides earthly and spiritual roots, Han Jue has reached the Golden Core 9-layer stage. On his 100th birthday, the system unlocked a new function for him. Open the simulation trial function. You can set the opponent's cultivation level and strength level, as well as detect all living beings within 100 miles to replicate their strength for battle. The outcome of the fights will not affect the real body or mental state. Han Jue was immediately delighted. This is truly a divine technique. He has always been uncertain about his own strength, and now he can finally give it a try. He immediately started the simulation trial, and the next moment he found himself in a different dimension. Immediately, he heard the voice of the system. You can choose a character from the interpersonal relationship list as the template for opponent's strength. He immediately chose Xianxia, the strongest sect leader. The next second, a person identical to the sect leader appeared in front of Han Jue. Han Jue had not reacted yet when Xianxia launched an attack towards Han Jue. How awesome is Han Jue exactly? Strong fighters at the nascent soul stage are unable to break through the defenses of the Heavenly Dao body. However, Xianxia was killed by him at the Golden Core stage. Even the Master of Demon Cult with Divine Transformation stage cultivation level. Han Jue killed him with just one move. Speaking of the simulated Xianxia created by the system, as soon as he appeared, he immediately launched an attack on Han Jue. Fortunately, Han Jue timely used the 7-fold phantom step to dodge it. Immediately, he exerted all his strength to unleash a 3 pure phantom sword towards Xianxia. However, as the smoke cleared, Xianxia miraculously emerged unscathed, with his whole body covered in gold. It was indeed the incredible skill, Heavenly Dao body. Han Jue marveled at this extraordinary technique as he watched Xianxia launch another attack. Han Jue threw another 9-long exorcism seal over, only to have it scattered by a punch from Xianxia. Han Jue continuously switched between 6 attributes of spiritual power, each 9-long exorcism seal colliding with Xianxia. Soon, Xianxia was knocked back by the 9-long exorcism seal. Han Jue was also quite surprised. The 9-long exorcism seal was obviously not simple, actually forcing the sect leader into such a situation. Currently, battling against a nascent soul stage 8-layer opponent was a struggle, only able to repel but not defeat them. Just at this moment, a system pop-up appeared. Is it possible to lower the opponent's strength? He looked at the adjustable range. He suddenly felt that this simulated trial was becoming more and more interesting. At this moment, inside the main hall of Jade Pure Sect's main peak, The sect leader and all the elders are gathered here, each with a serious expression on their face. Duan Skyreaching successfully crossed the tribulation last month and was in the process of solidifying his divine transformation cultivation level before that. At the same time, the sect leader has already reached out to various orthodox sects for help, but none of them have responded. When the time comes, it will be up to me and the elder to deal with Duan Skyreaching using my Heavenly Dao body as the strongest cultivation technique of the Jade Pure sect. I hope to have a battle with him. On the other side, Han Jue has been continuously attempting. He has now been able to break through Li Qingzi's nascent Soul 5 layer and successfully instantly kill him with his Heavenly Dao body. He once again explained that this training system is really excellent. Another 10 years have passed, and Han Jue finally cultivated all his spiritual roots to the 9-layer great perfection of the Golden Core. Today, he officially began to break through the nascent soul stage. Just as Han Jue was starting to undergo the tribulation, Chong Lunar hurriedly ran over here. It turns out that the demon cult invasion is imminent. She wanted to tell Han Jue and take her to temporarily hide in the inner region. But from afar, she saw Han Jue undergoing a tribulation, believing that Han Jue was breaking through the Golden Core realm. At this moment, she thought to herself that if the Azure Abyss cult were to attack from this direction, wouldn't it disrupt his tribulation? She knew that forcibly disrupting a tribulation was a big taboo. Therefore, she decided to guard Han Jue here. The demon cult army finally arrived at the Jade Pure sect. Chong Lunar found out that they attacked from a different direction. They just happened to avoid Junior Brother's cultivation dwelling. Bringing him to the inner at this time would harm him instead. Then she thought of Han Jue. As long as he didn't leave the cultivation dwelling, he would always be safe. She immediately flew towards the main peak on her sword. She is willing to live and die together with her Sherfu. At the same time, she silently prays that Han Jue never comes back. It is unclear how long it took, but Han Jue finally broke through to the nascent soul stage. He found that even the 6 paths of reincarnation cultivation technique had undergone a transformation, with all spiritual roots merging and the 6 types of spiritual power uniting into a new and powerful spiritual chi, the 6-path spiritual power. Afterward, he can directly absorb spiritual power from the heavens and earth. He no longer needs to cultivate each spiritual root one by one. At this time, the system also sends a prompt, rewarding a divine technique called the Heavenly Extermination Sword. However, what excites Han Jue the most is that is, his own lifespan has increased to 998 years. At that moment, Han Jue once again received a system prompt that his sect Jade Pure sect was under attack by the Azure Abyss demon cult. The system sent another notification. He screened out the strongest within the Jade Pure sect, the Azure Abyss demon cult master Duan Skyreaching at the Divine Transformation Stage 1 layer. Should he immediately start the simulated trial under Han Jue's subconscious urge to refuse? But then he calmed down. He could kill a nascent soul with his Golden Core stage. Now he should have the power to fight against someone at the Divine Transformation stage. He then proceeded to start the trial. At this moment, on the main peak of the Jade Pure sect, demon cult elder Zhang Kunmo continuously shouts the name Cao Cao, calling him out to face death. However, no one recognizes Cao Cao. Just 1 minute has passed, and Han Jue has successfully completed the trial. Duan Skyreaching. Just this? This is the most exciting scene in the whole comic for me. Jade Pure sect was brutally slaughtered by Azure Abyss demon cult, with the Supreme Elder, sect leader, and Dawn Star Fairy on the brink of death. At the moment when Jade Pure sect is on the verge of extinction, Han Jue arrived in time to save everyone. His phrase, hiding cultivator, is also full of passion. He battles divine transformation with nascent soul. On the main peak of the Jade Pure sect, Li Qingzi and the Supreme Elder under the pressure of Duan Skyreaching have long been at their wits' end. But for the sake of the Jade Pure sect, they must fight. Duan Skyreaching looked down on them, laughing wildly. You just need to kneel down and beg for mercy. Perhaps the sea can spare you some suffering. Li Qingzi said in a cold voice. I, as a disciple of the Jade Pure Sect, will never submit to the demonic path. After saying that, he mustered his last bit of strength and rushed towards Duan Skyreaching to attack. But the next second, he flew back like a cannonball. Dawnstar Fairy nearby sighed. Jade Pure Sect is finished in the end. Dawnstar Fairy couldn't help but think that Han Jue, that kid, is probably still in seclusion. She then thought about other disciples. She was filled with sorrow and self-blame in her heart. Being unable to protect you as a master, she could only lead before you. Dawnstar Fairy slowly stood up. Even facing death, she was determined to die for the Jade Pure Sect. And at this moment, Mo Bamboo was forced to a dead end by members of the demon cult at the edge of the cliff. She chose to protect her innocence. She resolutely jumped off the cliff without hesitation. At this moment, her spiritual power had long been depleted. She can't even perform sword control now. The last thing she thought of in her mind was that man. I wonder if she will meet him again in the next life. A familiar voice sounded by her ear. She found that the man she was thinking about was hugging her. The people from the demon cult behind him were all turned into meat paste. Am I in heaven now? Han Jue quickly found Mo no revenge. He directly threw Mo Bamboo to him and flew towards the main peak. He also casually killed the 3 golden core cultivators besieging Mo no revenge along the way. He can feel the powerful pressure emanating from the main peak. He hopes that he can still catch up. Just then, he sensed the aura of Chong Lunar. At this moment, Chong Lunar and the others were surrounded by a group of demon cultivators. Just as they were preparing to fight to the death. Suddenly, 3 flashing demon cultivators flew from a distance and swiftly cut them in half, just like slicing watermelons. Chong Lunar and the others were all stunned. Han Jue also did not stay for a moment, and continued flying towards the main peak. At this moment, in a certain grove, a one-eyed dragon is currently pressuring Xing Red Vortex to be their Taoist partner. Xing Red Vortex could never agree to that. Just as the one-eyed dragon was about to make a move, Xing Red Vortex suddenly exclaimed in surprise, "My lord!" The one-eyed dragon thought that Xing Red Vortex had obediently surrendered, but he did not know that Han Jue had already appeared behind him with eyes blazing red. Han Jue resolved the demon cult's second disciple with just one move. After he instructed Xing Red Vortex to find a place to hide, he then continued to rush towards the main peak. At this moment, the system prompted that Xing Red Vortex's favorability towards you has increased to 6 stars. Han Jue couldn't help but smile bitterly, thinking about my damn charm and strength. At this time, on the main peak, Li Qingzi, the Supreme Elder, and Dawnstar Fairy, among others, were all seriously injured. Among them, Li Qingzi and the Supreme Elder are the most miserable. Duan Skyreaching looks down on everyone from a high position. The next second, he arrived in front of Dawnstar Fairy. Are you still unwilling to give up? Guess. How many people are still alive in your Jade Pure Sect? He raised his hand after speaking. He made a fatal blow to Dawnstar Fairy at this critical moment. Han Jue appeared in time and rescued Dawnstar Fairy. It was the first time he had seen her in such a distressed state. He asked with concern. Dawnstar Fairy also widened her eyes when she saw Han Jue. But the next second, he punched Han Jue in the face and said, "What are you doing here? Get as far away as you can." You are no longer a disciple of Jade Pure Sect. Duan Skyreaching feels like he is being ignored. He immediately became angry and embarrassed. If you kneel down and count out 3 times, this seat will spare your life. This is your chance to join the Azure Abyss Demon Cult. At this time, the system also popped up with 2 choices, but Han Jue was not affected by these choices. The reason he came here was that he had already made a decision in his heart. Just by watching him step by step closer to Duan's sky-reaching, his blood was already boiling. The hiding cultivator also has hot blood. Just at that moment, he suddenly heard xiaoxia's shout. Just saw Zhang Kunmo suddenly appear behind Han Jue. You don't even need the seed to take action. With Kunmo Elder's strength, he alone can crush all of you. However, as soon as Zhang Kunmo's voice fell, he flew out like a cannonball. Everyone was shocked to see this scene. Han Jue smiled at Duan's sky-reaching and asked, "Are you ready? I'm about to send you on your way." At this moment, Zhang Kunmo, who was not flying, awkwardly climbed up from the ground. He angrily roared in frustration. He summoned forth his most powerful artifact. Then he charged towards Han Jue. Han Jue slowly raised his left hand. He only extended his index finger. 3 pure phantom sword. Just a moment. The arrogant Azure Abyss Demon Cult Elder had his head blown off by Han Jue. Everyone was shocked by this blow. At this moment, Duan Sky-Reaching was wearing a playful smile. At a young age, he could already wield a sword against my sex elder. Why not join my demon cult? I can offer you wealth, companionship, the path, and the environment. The moment the words were not finished, 3 sword shadows had already arrived in front of Duan Sky-Reaching. But the next second, a layer of red shield appeared in front of him, blocking the 3 sword shadows. Han Jue was puzzled to see his 3 pure phantom sword being easily blocked. He couldn't help but wonder what was behind him. Behind me is the innate black magnet, a treasure that can absorb spiritual power, and is immune to most attacks. Unless your spiritual power surpasses mine, you cannot touch me. I have already given you a chance. Blame yourself for being arrogant. Duan Sky-Reaching suddenly erupted with the terrifying pressure of divine transformation. This pressure instantly enveloped the entire Jade Pure sect. In an instant, all the Jade Pure sect disciples who were fighting looked in horror towards the main peak. I want everyone from the Jade Pure sect to die in front of you. I'll see how you protect the Jade Pure sect. Han Jue has now taken out the Kirin sword noisily. Have you finished talking? Is there anything else you want to say? Han Jue raised the Kirin sword in his hand, preparing to perform divine techniques. Duan Sky-Reaching but laughed heartily. Last words? Or would you like to keep it for yourself to say? Soon, he couldn't laugh anymore. As Han Jue's divine techniques were released, he noticed that he was locked by something and couldn't move a muscle. And this divine techniques is precisely Han Jue's heavenly extermination sword. The sword chi swept across. Duan Sky-Reaching dispersed into the air, as if evaporated by high temperature, dissipated between heaven and earth. No one knows how many times nascent soul has been frightened by divine transformation today. He's really impressive. However, at this moment, Han Jue sensed that Duan Sky-Reaching's primordial spirit had escaped. This hidden danger must not remain. He immediately chased after the primordial spirit, and at this moment, on a pile of ruins, Duan Sky-Reaching's primordial spirit was trembling uncontrollably. Fortunately, he ran fast. Who exactly is this person? Your father Genghis Khan. The sound immediately startled Duan Sky-Reaching, only to see that Han Jue appeared behind Duan Sky-Reaching at some unknown time. The century-long battle between Jade Pure Sect and Azure Abyss Demon Cult comes to an end today. He raised his left hand and unleashed the divine technique 6 paths soul absorption of the 6 paths of reincarnation. Duan Sky-Reaching immediately let out a scream of horror. The Yogwai Taming Demon Sect will not let you go. Before he could roar a few more words, his primordial spirit was refined by Han Jue. Han Jue is wondering, what is the Yogwai Taming Demon Sect? I just heard 2 system prompts. You have successfully killed divine transformation and obtained a bottle of spirit essence Dan. Xiao Unluck harbors hatred towards you. Current hostility level is 5 stars Han Jue. Feeling confused, who is Xiao Unluck? Can you imagine this somewhat silly youth before you? He just single-handedly saved the entire Jade Pure sect by instantly killing divine transformation at the nascent soul stage. After Han Jue killed Duan Skyreaching, he suddenly received a 5-star hostility from Xiao Unluck. He immediately checked his connections list and found out that Xiao Unluck is actually at the Fusion Void stage, 2 layer. Han Jue was speechless. He knew that even stronger troublemakers would come looking for him. At this moment, everyone suddenly noticed that Duan Skyreaching's innate black magnet emitted an abnormal signal. Just then, a thick smoke emerged from the innate black magnet. Soon, a figure emerged from the smoke. It is indeed remarkable that Daoist friends' divine techniques have broadened my horizons. Han Jue immediately prepared to pick up his sword and go for the kill. The other party said, "I am Fusion Void, a great cultivator. Your divine techniques cannot kill us primordial spirits. As long as Duan Skyreaching can buy a little time, I won't only recover so little." Upon hearing this, Silent True Immortal was greatly shocked. "Fusion Void? Who are you?" "I am the Elder Xiao Unluck of the Northern Prefecture Yewai Taming Demon Sect. I have been planning for many years, but I did not expect to have you as a variable. I will remember this debt for now." "Are you suggesting that earlier, Duan Skyreaching was just stalling for time, and actually doing it for you?" "That's natural. This waste told me that no one in Jade Pure Sect is his match, and that he could let me. Speaking of which, Xiao Unluck just realized. Kid, are you trying to trick me? I see that your primordial spirit is different from ordinary people. Your primordial spirit must have been damaged or your physical body destroyed, right?" Xiao Unluck snorted. "You are not qualified to know. I just disdain bullying juniors." "I have already sent this information back to the Yewai Taming Demon Sect. Wait for the retaliation from the Demon Sect." With that, Xiao Unluck disappeared. Li Qingzi then realized that the Azure Abyss cult's betrayal of the Myriad Demons realm was actually arranged by the Yewai Taming Demon Sect. Li Qingzi immediately turned to look at Han Jue. The top priority is to completely eliminate all the demon cultivators within the sect. Halfway through speaking, he realized that Han Jue completely ignored him. He went straight to Dawn Star Fairy's side to treat her injuries. Upon hearing Li Qingzi instructing him to go and exterminate the demon cultivators, without even thinking, he rejected it outright, saying, "You guys can go on your own. If I manage to wipe out the entire demon cult, my reputation will soar. People are afraid of becoming famous just like pigs are afraid of getting fat." Dawnstar Fairy's mouth slightly curled upwards upon hearing this. At this moment, the elders present all cast envious glances towards Dawnstar Fairy. Thunder Elder then asked Han Jue, "What is the origin of Daoist friend? Tell us about your background. You are definitely not a disciple that our Jade Pure Sect can cultivate. Why bother about our past acquaintance? Just know that I am now a disciple of Jade Pure Sect, and I won't harm Jade Pure Sect, that's all." Just as everyone was talking, the other elders of the demon cult arrived. But they couldn't see any trace of Duan Skyreaching. Instead, they saw Zhang Kunmo's body. At this time, Li Qingzi fully mobilized the remaining spiritual qi in his body. The voice echoed throughout the entire Jade Pure Sect. The master of the demon cult, Duan Skyreaching, is dead. All disciples of the Jade Pure Sect heed my command to kill all demon cultivators within the sect. Upon hearing that their own cult master had died, the people of the demon cult were shocked. They were suddenly frightened and fled in all directions. Jade Pure Sect disciples suddenly became passionate. They all chased after the people of the demon cult and beat them severely like killing dogs. When they saw the demon cultivators fleeing everywhere, everyone couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. At this moment, Li Qingzi's gaze towards Han Jue became fiery. Unable to make any more breakthroughs in his own cultivation level, he decided to keep this disciple in the Jade Pure Sect and promptly announced to everyone that Han Jue was appointed as the vice-sect leader of the Jade Pure Sect. Han Jue suddenly appeared in front of Li Qingzi. "I am single-mindedly focused on wanting to cultivate as the vice-sect leader, but it's so tiring. How can I have time to cultivate?" Li Qingzi couldn't help but feel conflicted when he heard this. In the end, Elder Taisheng proposed that he would be named an elder and receive the salary and treatment of a vice sect leader, unless there was trouble in the sect. No one was allowed to disturb Han Jue on normal days. Han Jue immediately nodded in satisfaction, as this was exactly what he liked. At this moment, Han Jue suddenly said, "By the way, the person just now is at the fusion void stage, wouldn't he be?" "It doesn't matter. Just as you guessed before. He does only have his primordial spirit left. Most likely, Duan Sky Reaching is willing to help him recover his physical body in order to achieve a breakthrough. The reason he is delaying time is probably because of some kind of secret technique to absorb the spiritual chi and vitality of the Jade Pure sect. Furthermore, the Northern Prefecture is far away from our location. Even if they come rushing over, my Righteous Alliance allies will not let them cause trouble." Then, Han Jue still does not feel safe and continues to tighten up security to quickly surpass the Fusion Void stage. After the battle between Jade Pure Sect and Azure Abyss Demon Cult, a mysterious power legend quietly circulated within Jade Pure Sect. At this critical moment for Jade Pure Sect, thanks to our sect/immortal elder, who turned peril into safety with a single sword, facing the divine transformation. I heard what Dawnstar Fairy said. Suddenly a large group of fans of /immortal elder surged forward from the audience. Later, Dawnstar Fairy asked everyone to leave and only left behind Han Jue alone. Dawnstar Fairy and Han Jue remained silent for a moment. Dawnstar Fairy then said softly, "Don't you have anything to say?" Han Jue suddenly looked puzzled and asked, "What do you want me to say? What exactly are you? What is your purpose in coming to Jade Pure Sect? Li Qingzi may overlook it, but I, as his master, must figure it out," Han Jue replied. "No wonder you have never needed my guidance. Should I address you as Daoist friend Han from now on?" Han Jue fell silent after hearing this. His background as a disciple should have been clear to you from Junior Brother Iron. "Do you not believe in my talent?" Dawnstar Fairy narrowed her eyes slightly and said, "Even though you have exceptional talent, where did you obtain those cultivation techniques?" At this moment, Han Jue also realized that the idea of nascent soul-killing divine transformation was too unbelievable. If he were to say it out loud, no one would believe him. Moreover, he has always kept a low profile but managed to obtain top-grade resources. If he claimed it was no issue, even a fool wouldn't believe him. Finally, Han Jue came up with a suitable reason. So, Han Jue began his story. Once there was a child who loved to drink beast milk. He lived carefree every day. One day, he found something under a blackened old willow tree that had been struck by lightning. Just as he was about to hand it over to his police uncle, suddenly, a celestial being sprung out from the ring and set his sights on him, wanting to take him as a disciple. Observing your extraordinary physique, you must be a unique genius among a million. Meeting you is fate. I have an emperor-grade cultivation technique to give you. Since then, the celestial being often appeared in his dreams, stating that he would definitely become a celestial being. However, his fate was full of twists and turns, so he secluded himself all day long, not daring to cause trouble. Han Jue felt like he was missing a big picture. I suppose his master wouldn't believe it, right? Little did he know that Dawnstar Fairy actually believed him, and even mentioned a similar precedent. At this point, Dawnstar Fairy raised another question. In that case, why did you step forward back then? Jade Pure Sect has never treated you well, and I believe you don't consider Jade Pure Sect as your own family either. Indeed, but I have lived for 100 years, and there are not many people who matter to me. The most important person is in Jade Pure Sect, and I still wish to live and die with Jade Pure Sect. At this time, the system prompts that Dawnstar Fairy's liking for you has increased to 3.5 stars. Despite being Dawnstar Fairy, she couldn't help but feel elated by his words, swiftly changing the topic. So what are your plans for the future? Will you continue to seclude yourself? Who knows when the boss of the Fusion Void stage will come to attack? I must seize the time to grow stronger. Dawnstar Fairy quickly changed the topic and let Han Jue leave. When Han Jue returned to the cultivation dwelling, He thought about the attitude of the various elders towards him before. Comparing it with their current attitude, it's like night and day. Is this what they call showing off? It does feel quite satisfying. Indeed, everything boils down to one's capabilities. It seems that closing oneself off for cultivation is the right choice after all. Let's keep giving it our all for cultivation from now on. At this moment, Chan Lunar came over carrying a pile of heavenly materials and earthly treasures. He is preparing to help upgrade the spiritual herb and spiritual formation in Han Jue's cultivation dwelling. Han Jue repeatedly expressed his gratitude for this. You are already a immortal elder. Can I still be your senior sister? At this moment, the system reminds Han Jue suddenly press senior sister against the wall. As long as senior sister diligently cultivates and does not become a slacker, you will always be my senior sister. This action immediately made Chan Lunar blush. Han Jue then leaned close to Chan Lunar's ear and whispered softly, Senior sister, I have a request. Chan Lunar agreed without hesitation. Han Jue immediately revealed an old witch-like smile. Please trouble senior sister to set up a formation at the cultivation dwelling to prevent fire, theft, and unwanted visitors like senior sister. In the next 3 years, Jade Pure Sect will severely punish the traitors. The Azure Abyss demon cult, which has been evil for 100 years, was completely wiped out in the end, shocking the entire immortal cultivation world of the Great Yin. The title of /Immortal Elder is also spreading in the immortal cultivation world, and Han Jue has also reached the nascent soul second layer. At this moment, the system suddenly sent a message triggering a hidden achievement, granting an additional artifact, Yaowai Binding Rope, and a spellbook, Grand Thunderstorm of the Cosmos. Others receive opportunities from their master to their disciple. But Han Jue not only picked an innate chi practitioner as his disciple, he also obtained a tremendous opportunity from him. On that day, dark clouds gathered over the Jade Pure Sect, terrifying power enveloping the 18 peaks, making everyone's heart tremble. The elders thought that the demon cult was attacking again, and each one was ready to fight. At this time, the Supreme Elder's eyes shone with golden light as he looked towards the dark clouds. Then he calmly said, The source is over on Han Jue's territory. Everyone should go back to their own home and find their own mother. At this time, the commotion caused by Han Jue is due to the spell he just obtained in Cultivate, the Grand Thunderstorm of the Cosmos. This spell can mobilize the spiritual chi of thunder between heaven and earth to unleash a world-destroying thunderstorm. Feeling the power of this spell, Han Jue is delighted in his heart, finally having a large area damage skill. At this moment, Li Qingzi suddenly approached Han Jue with a smiling face, indicating that there was something to discuss with him. When the two arrived at Han Jue's cultivation dwelling, Li Qingzi said that this cultivation dwelling is indeed a bit small. How about moving to the main peak to cultivate? It is big and comfortable there. Seeing Li Qingzi with malicious intentions, Han Jue rejected without hesitation. Seeing Han Jue's refusal, Li Qingzi did not insist. He even offered to help him turn this into an innate cultivation dwelling. Then he explained the real purpose of this visit. Elder Han, are you willing to take on a disciple? Upon hearing this, Han Jue was stunned. If this young person has outstanding talent, Elder Han can offer guidance when available. Just then, Li Qingzi gestured. A man walked in from outside. At this moment, the system suddenly prompted. Detected an innate chi wielder. All the information of this person suddenly appeared in front of Han Jue. This person possesses the bloodline of the sacred Yaowai, born half human and half demon. They were imprisoned by the Azure Abyss demon cult and later rescued by the Jade Pure Sect. Seeing this, Han Jue couldn't help but sigh. Another protagonist template. Unable to do anything about it, Han Jue agreed to take on a disciple. However, they requested that the disciple be allowed to choose the cultivation technique of the Jade Pure Sect. Han Jue stated that they would only be responsible for teaching spells and divine techniques. Li Qingzi readily agreed to this arrangement. At this time, Li Qingzi brought over a large box. These represent the tokens of your authority as the /immortal elder, which you can give to your disciples in the future. Seeing this, Han Jue was speechless. Does this mean I have to take on a whole line of disciples later on? Before Han Jue could say anything, Li Qingzi quickly slipped away. At that moment, Han Jue looked at Yang Skywinter. Master has already deduced your origins. Your name is Yang Skywinter. Half human, half demon, Yang Skywinter was once imprisoned by the Azure Abyss demon cult. Shocked, he looked up. Li Qingzi specifically instructed before you arrived. Do not tell Han Jue about your own past. I didn't expect that Han Jue could directly infer it. Yang Skywinter is completely convinced by his master, he could even calculate this. At this point, the system prompts that Yang Skywinter's goodwill has increased to 3 stars. Han Jue secretly feels proud. I have the system on my side. What don't I know? Han Jue then threw a token to him, telling him to find a place to meditate and cultivate on his own. Unexpectedly, Yang Skywinter suddenly said, Master, I have a request. My father once left behind a profound art that requires reaching divine transformation in order to cultivate disciples. I am dull-witted. Please, Master, teach me. Then Yang Skywinter handed out a red feather with both hands. Han Jue was suddenly greatly surprised. Do you know what it means to? Shifu leads you to the door. Cultivation depends on the individual. Han Jue first threw his chief disciple aside, letting him cultivate on his own for 10 years. After 10 years passed, he still didn't teach him anything. He directly kicked him out of the cultivation dwelling and made him go on a mission. He must come back only after achieving the first place. Speaking of which, after Han Jue picked up the feather handed to him by Yang Skywinter, he found that his spiritual sense was blocked by the feather. It seems that in order to obtain the supreme technique inside, he must possess divine transformation level spiritual sense. Then he waved his hand to indicate that he would take it for research first, and asked Yang Skywinter to go cultivate for 10 years before teaching the spells. In the blink of an eye, 10 years passed just like that. In these 10 years, Han Jue also cultivated to nascent soul 4 layer. When he opened his eyes and looked at his lone disciple, he found Yang Skywinter looking at Han Jue with a face full of grievance. He's grown feathers on his head, saying he hasn't moved in 10 years and might even get hemorrhoids. Han Jue felt embarrassed when he saw this, but seeing him progress from Foundation Establishment 1 layer to 6 layer in just 10 years does show some ability. Later, he asked how the past 10 years had been. In response, the disciple mentioned that he had benefited greatly from the hard cultivation over the past 10 years, and had also gained some insights into the principles. Han Jue couldn't help but let out a sigh in his heart, realizing that even after many years of isolation, he had not gained any insights into the principles. Then he stretched and yawned. You should go out and do some tasks, he said. Upon hearing this, he finally felt relieved that he could go out. I remember there's a monthly contribution leaderboard in the sect mission hall. When you become the top of the monthly leaderboard, then come back. Just as Yang Skywinter was feeling joyous a moment ago, he suddenly felt despair. Only heaven knows how long it will take for him to accomplish this. Han Jue didn't wait for Yang Skywinter to say anything. He directly kicked him out. After finally driving away Yang Skywinter, Han Jue took out that feather. He decided to start unraveling the restrictions on this feather right now. Just look at him taking out the spirit essence Dan he got earlier. This item is specifically designed to enhance spiritual sense. Han Jue immediately took all of the spirit essence Dan. After he fully absorbed them, he felt that his spiritual sense had increased by more than 10-fold. He once again probed into the feather with his spiritual sense, encountering the resistance from before. This time, his spiritual sense collided with it. In just a few seconds, he broke through the restriction, and countless golden symbols flooded in. At this moment, Han Jue, at the foot of the Jade Pure Sect Mountain, was leading a group of children towards the sect. He is currently in charge of recruiting new disciples for the sect. He looked at their appearances. Mo no Revenge couldn't help but smile, thinking back to when he first entered Jade Pure Sect and was just like this. At this moment, a breaking sound came from the air, and a bamboo arrow shot towards Mo no Revenge from the dark. Mo no Revenge instinctively dodged it. But the bamboo arrow exploded not far from Mo no Revenge, and a toxic mist spread out from it. All fall back. Enemy attack. Then, they saw a figure wearing a rain cape. The person wielding two knives attacked Mo no Revenge. Mo no Revenge immediately deflected this blow and forced the man in the raincoat back several meters with a single strike. However, another person appeared behind him, and a spear pierced Mo no Revenge's shoulder. Seeing Mo no Revenge injured, everyone else became extremely worried. At this time, a person in a raincoat said in a deep voice, "Everyone kneel down and don't move. We are only here to catch Mo no Revenge. If any of you dare to interfere, you won't make it back alive." Mo no Revenge was hit right on the edge of his vital spot, and dared not move recklessly. "Who are you people? Heavenly stars and earthly fiends. I can only tell you that a great calamity is coming for the Jade Pure Sect." Suddenly, everyone felt a tremor in the ground. At some point, a giant appeared, with his upper body disappearing into the sea of clouds. This person was none other than Han Jue. What he was using was the divine techniques he learned from the feathers imitate heaven and mirror earth. Forge the physical body with vital energy to achieve perfection and cultivate a body that can reach tens of thousands of feet tall. I only heard him shouting, "How dare you arrest my sect disciple at the entrance of Jade Pure Sect?" How hypocritical is Han Jue in the end? His only disciple was taken away. He not only did not go to rescue him, but also admitted that he was doomed to die, praying that he would be born into a good family in his next life. The two disguised men were scared stiff after seeing the mighty Han Jue, while Han Jue was secretly delighted. This imitate heaven and mirror earth move is simply flawless when it comes to showing off, not only powerful but also top-notch in destructive force. He saw that there were his own people below and couldn't act recklessly. Just as he was considering whether to eliminate them together, he suddenly realized that the person looked a bit familiar. Two people in raincoats watched as Han Jue charged towards them. Those two people were both stunned. They even tried to use Mo no Revenge as a hostage to threaten. But Han Jue completely ignored them. He directly swung his fist like a mountain and smashed it over. The other people from the Jade Pure Sect on the side were all frightened and cried out, saying, "We are on the same side!" But just as the fist was about to hit them, it disappeared into thin air. Mo no Revenge saw a figure flash past him. The next second, he heard two miserable screams. When Mo no Revenge looked back again, the two of them had disappeared and everyone was bewildered, not knowing what had happened. At this moment, Mo no Revenge knew who the arrivals were and could defeat the two experts of the Golden Core realm in an instant. Who else could it be but him? At this point, Mo no Revenge also realized. He shouted at the disciple, who was standing dumbfounded on the side. "What are you still staring at? Hurry up and treat my injuries." Xianxia is secretly cultivating the Supreme Mastery. Yes, the Supreme Mastery. Suddenly, the door was kicked open by someone. Xianxia was so scared that he quickly destroyed all evidence. "I only saw the two straw-coated men being thrown in just now. These two men want to catch Mo no Revenge and hand him over to you." The newcomer is none other than Han Jue. When Xianxia saw that straw hat and two knives, he immediately had a change in expression. He obviously recognized their origin. Clad in a straw cloak, he walks alone into the fading mist. With twin blades, he dares to slay the righteous immortals. Unexpectedly, an elder appeared out of nowhere. If I'm not mistaken, these should be people from the Strawcloak Sacred Cult. 1,000 years ago, the Strawcloak Sacred Cult ruled over the Great Yin Immortal Cultivation world. However, due to their rampages and massacres of the young talents from various sects, They were defeated and forced into hiding by the righteous cultivators working together. Recently, they have resurfaced and captured many disciples of the righteous path. They seem to have obtained a lot of information about us. The disciples who were captured are all talented individuals. I suspect there is a traitor from our sect who is either gathering intelligence from the Sunrise Pavilion or from. Do not jump to conclusions. This demon cult has hidden for thousands of years, but suddenly emerged. Their ambitions must be immense. Han Jue then asked, "How strong is the Strawcloak Sacred Cult? Do they have a fusion void stage cultivator? I'm sure divine transformation has one, but it's unclear for the Strawcloak Sacred Cult." Upon hearing this, Han Jue immediately had the thought of fleeing. There's no time to lose. I must personally visit each sect with xianxia to unite the various schools on the right path. I'll leave the comforting of the Jade Pure sect to you during this time. Elder Tai Shang had just finished speaking when the system popped up. As soon as he saw the system's choices, he agreed immediately. As long as he didn't have to leave, he was fine with anything. Upon hearing that Han Jue actually agreed, both of them were overjoyed. In this way, another 6 years passed, and Han Jue broke through to the nascent soul 5th layer, even extending his lifespan to 1,080 years. At this point, he remembered his disciple. It seems like he hasn't heard from him for a long time. Is it a bit difficult for him to make his disciple the number 1 on the monthly ranking list? He then opened his friend circle to see if there were any updates from his disciple. As soon as he opened it, he was overwhelmed by news of attacks by the Strawcloak Sacred Cult. Even his disciple was captured by the Strawcloak Sacred Cult. No wonder there was no news. It's only natural for me, as a master, to come to the rescue when my disciple is in trouble. But Han Jue immediately vetoed it. This is definitely a trap. He felt a mysterious force from the depths of his soul manipulating his life. He must resist against destiny, and not take any risks. He could only silently pray for young Skywinter, wishing him a better fate in his next life. Since he didn't go out himself, as an elder, he had to do something for the sect to justify the sect's investment in him. At this moment, Han Jue suddenly had an idea. Previously, xianxia had suspected that there were spies within the elder group. At this moment, he couldn't help but feel suspicious.